Avoid being ripped off with a low quality designer bag because let's face it, these pieces can be big financial investments. These are the 5 secrets that I use to identify true high quality luxury bags because they aren't all made equally. Hey, my name is Steph if you are new here. Now I am very much in pursuit of the highest quality luxury pieces on the market right now. So much so that last year I actually made my own leather bag. Like I cut the leather, I chose the leather, and then I saddle stitched it together, I edged it, and all of that was in aid to understand a little bit more about leathers in general and the amount of skill and detail that goes into making one of these pieces. So after owning hundreds of luxury bags over the last few years and spending thousands of hours immersed in the luxury market and what is available right now, these are my 5 top tips. The first secret is to know what your bag is actually made from. Now, a lot of designer bags are made from leather, so we need to have a basic understanding of what makes a superior leather and different types of leather so we know how they might behave. When I was first starting my luxury journey, I was very much guilty of not really having a thorough understanding of leather and how it's used. It is instrumental to understanding whether you have a high quality piece in front of you or not. Now, there are 2 things we need to factor in, which we're going to go through in a little bit of detail. The first one is that you get different cuts from the leather hide of the animal. Again, not all of the same quality. And the second one is that you get leathers from different animals, of course. Let's dive into the different cuts from the hides of leather then. So the highest quality grade leather is top grain leather. It is the most luxurious and expensive type of leather, and it comes in 2 forms, which are full grain and corrected grain. Now, a full grain leather can absorb oils and moisture, so it will patina really beautifully. And another great feature about this leather is that it can actually breathe. Now, even though it absorbs moisture and oils, full grain leather is incredibly durable. Now let's move on to corrected grain leather. By the way, if you are enjoying this, I'm definitely going to be delving deeper into this world of quality and leathers in more detail. So if you aren't subscribed already, make sure you do. So a corrected grain leather is still full grain leather. However, it will go through varying techniques to create a consistent look and feel to the leather. This usually involves sanding the top layer of the leather to remove any imperfections, and then the piece might go through something like a heat embossing with a pattern, for example. I'm thinking Chanel caviar leather as one of those, and the embossing creates a surface pattern. Now, when a hide is cut to the desired thickness, you will get a cut off the bottom of the hide. This is called the split, and it's often what we refer to as suede leather. It absorbs moisture really easily, and it's definitely not as hard wearing as full grain leather. So it's worth bearing that in mind. It is the cheapest part of the hide. And you know, when you're at a market stall or a cheaper store in general, they might have like wallets and bags, and they have tags on which says made from genuine leather. I would run a mile from anything that says genuine leather because they're probably using the super cheapest part, the scraps of the leather hide, and then they're probably coating it in some kind of vinyl or plastic. So you often kind of have like a plasticky feel and smell to it. Anything with genuine leather on, the rule of thumb is run a mile away from. Now, of course, you can get suede bags. I do have the YSL Lulu. This is in a cinnamon colored suede, and it does behave very differently to my top grain leather bags in the sense that this absorbs moisture super easily. I have to be really careful with it if I'm out in the rain, for example. They definitely are higher maintenance and they aren't as durable, so worth bearing in mind. Now, before we move on to the different types of animal hides and how they behave, one of my top tips, something that I don't compromise on anymore, if I'm buying a super high-end bag, I want that bag to be leather lined. There are downsides to having a leather lining in terms of it can make the bag heavier than if it was lined with a canvas or a fabric, for example. But I have found some of the higher quality pieces that I've got are leather lined, and it just kind of goes to show that the designer, the fashion house, have thought about the entire experience. So you've got a beautiful exterior leather, and then you open it up and often you have like suede or lambskin leather lining, and I just find the piece then to me feels so much more high quality. Now, the second part to this secret, if you will, is also having an understanding of the different types of animal leathers, what their characteristics are and how they're going to behave. So I have this image here. I've got cow, buffalo, goat and camel leather. We can see say that the cow leather, so calf leather overall, has good strength, durability, softness. The pricing of it's quite good. We also have leathers such as ostrich and lambskin leather. The secret is kind of understanding this, and when you are looking at buying a bag, making sure it is in a leather that is going to work well for you. Do you value durability over how soft it might feel, for example? Now, of course, not all designer bags are made from leather. So let's take a look. Here we have a Louis Vuitton coated canvas bag. I have lots of these in my collection actually, and truth be told, especially at the start of my journey, I didn't really look into what my bag was actually made from. Okay, so coated canvas, not a leather. It is a canvas, a fabric, which is then coated with like a vinyl or a plastic. Again, the brands don't have to disclose this to you, so I don't actually know what the coating is made from. These are super hard wearing. They look great. You can print some fabulous prints on, but there are other brands and other options where for this amount of money, you can get a top grain leather bag for cheaper or around the same amount of money. And again, it just depends what kind of qualities you want from the bag. Now, this leads me on nicely to something that I wish I knew earlier on in my luxury buying career. And that is that you can get exceptional quality for much lower price points. So we are currently seeing the rise of contemporary brands which focus on quality over branding. So you're not paying for the logo, but you are getting a super high quality piece. And one of those brands is Ateliers Auguste. Now, Ateliers Auguste are the sponsors of this part of today's video. I've worked with them before and I can genuinely vouch for the quality of these pieces. They use full top grain leather. So here is my mini Marley bag from Ateliers Auguste, the last time that I worked with the brand. It literally has my stuff in right now because I've been using it, and the quality is so good. The leather still smells absolutely amazing, but I have a new piece here, so let's quickly unbox it together. Open this up. From Paris with love. Okay, so these are designed in Paris and they are made in Italy. The brand was founded by two French brothers, and again, the main material that Ateliers Auguste uses is the most magnificent top grain leather sourced from the best Italian tanneries. I'm gonna get a little bit closer so we can experience this together because I absolutely adore this. Wow. If this isn't the most chic looking bag you have ever seen, honestly, just how beautiful is this? We have the logo on the back, the side of the bag. This is the Gabriel Gold Edition bag, and this is in a sensational black box calf leather. How stunning. Okay. So the bottom of the bag here, a really nice structure, and I'm going to quickly show you. So we have two compartments. Oh my, honestly, the smell. So the two compartments, this is micro suede leather lined. So again, if you're looking for a quality piece, leather lining for me, even like a suede leather lining, it just feels so much more premium, high quality. We have two pockets, one on the front, we have one on the back, and we have a fantastic zipper compartment here so you can keep everything safe. One of the best things about the hardware on these bags is this magnetic closure. Like, you don't have to kind of line the bag up. I have a few bags where you have to kind of make sure the poppers are aligned together before it will close. But with this magnetic closure, it is literally just as easy as closing it like that, and it feels very secure. Now we do have an adjustable strap here. You can wear this as a shoulder bag. Move my chair out of the way so I can show you. Like this, obviously you can shorten this, or you can wear it as a crossbody bag. Oh my gosh, this is just, it's gonna go with everything as well. They do have different colors, but the black box calf was just unresistible. Now, the tanneries that Ateliers Auguste source their leather hides from respect the strictest European regulations. This is a guarantee of quality, traceability, and respect for the environment. And they also only select hides coming from the food industry. They make the choice to do this in terms of recycling and sustainability, and to contribute to responsible fashion pieces. Now, I do have something really special to share with you because Ateliers Auguste have kindly given us another 10% off discount code. Honestly, when the last code expired, the amount of Instagram messages I got is out of this world. So the code is live again. I'm not sure for how long, so make the most of it. I will flash it on the screen down below. It is Steph10. This is going to get you 10% off site-wide. Now, secret number 2 is knowing the hardware of your bag. What is it made from and how is it going to wear? And I just wanted to bring to your attention that Ateliers Auguste hardware, one of the best features that I love about this bag is a brass covered in 3 microns of real gold. And it really does bring just like a genuine touch of luxury to these pieces. So this is the gold edition line, feature the real gold plated hardware. Thank you so much to Ateliers Auguste for sponsoring this part of today's video. It's an absolute honor to collaborate with such an incredible brand that I know so many of you love, and I am one huge advocate. Okay, so back to secret number 2 in terms of the hardware of the bag. Understanding what metal is the hardware made from. Is it plated with precious metals such as real gold? Now let's take a quick look at some of the huge fashion houses. So we have Hermes, so they do plate with real precious metals, their hardware, so they use real gold, palladium, etc. But then you've got fashion houses such as Chanel that used to plate with 24 karat gold, but now they don't plate with any real gold. A lot of hardware on designer bags is actually like a brass. Now there are characteristics of things like brass, such as they are less likely to scratch. Gold can be a softer metal. So again, just taking the time to kind of look at the piece, look at how it has been plated, if it's been plated with real gold, if it hasn't. Looking at reviews of bags as well can be a real telltale sign as to whether that hardware is going to scratch easily and if that bothers you or not. Now, when we talk about hardware, you also want to check things like zippers. If the bag features a zipper, does it run smoothly? Is it easy to use? And also charms on bags. So I'm thinking here about the Lady Dior bag. You have this Dior charm, which you cannot remove on the front of the bag. Now, I've never really seen or heard too many complaints about the Dior charm actually harming the bag in any way, but it is noisy. It does a lot of clinging and clanging, which is something that I do see people complain about. So again, just make sure you do your research on the hardware of the bag. Secret number 3 is understanding how the bag has actually been constructed. For example, has it been machine stitched or hand stitched? Is one better than the other? The simple answer is yes. I just also want to quickly touch on terminology here when I talk about machine stitching versus hand stitching. I have unfortunately seen big brands say things like this bag has been handmade, and what they mean by that is that someone's hands have actually taken a piece of leather and took it through a sewing machine. So what I'm talking specifically about here is machine stitched, which can be done by hand, versus hand stitching. Literally, the stitches have been done with someone's physical hands. Now, the vast majority of bags on the luxury market are machine stitched. The machine stitching might be done by hand, but it is very rare now that you will find a piece that is hand stitched. But hand stitching is superior to machine stitching, and it obviously takes a lot more time, and it takes very skilled artisans to be able to do this. So what is the difference exactly? The lock stitch looks very straight when you do it on a bag. It's very consistent. So some people will like that because it just does look more uniform. A hand stitch is often slanted. Often the stitches maybe aren't the perfect length because they are done by hand, so it will have some imperfections. But a machine cannot fully replicate a saddle stitch, which is the strongest stitch you can do. It's called a saddle stitch because it is the stitch used for creating saddles on horses. Now, saddle stitch, again, cannot really be achieved by a sewing machine, and this is what it looks like different to a lock stitch. So to do saddle stitch, which is what I did with my bag, it requires a figure of 8 technique. One of the other advantages of hand stitching something is that you can control the tension of the thread. So I can tell you, after 2 days pretty much of solid saddle stitching, my hands were definitely red raw because they weren't used to it, but you can really pull the stitch, and because you can control the tension, it does mean that the bag can generally carry more weight without breaking, and is just higher quality in general. And a super important point demonstrated in this image is if you break a lock stitch, quite a few of the stitches can come undone, eventually the entire line can come undone, versus a saddle stitch. Basically that one stitch breaks, and because it again is a figure of 8, it doesn't mean the rest of the stitching is going to come undone, or definitely not as fast as a lock stitch would. I was super surprised by this. I literally did a saddle stitch myself and then pulled it apart, and I literally couldn't get the other stitches to come out. So a hand stitched bag that features the saddle stitch, which is usually the case, they are designed to last longer and withstand more weight, so they are superior. So I know what your next question is because it was my question as well. Which bags do feature actual hand stitching then? It is quite rare to see these days. Hermes is an obvious one. Now, not all their bags are hand stitched. It's only their quota bags, so the Birkin and the Kelly, that I believe are still handmade. And it looks like the Hermes Birkin, for example, is a combination of hand stitch and machine stitch. So the outline in yellow are the pieces that have been machine stitched, and the outline in blue are the pieces that look like they've been hand stitched. There is another kind of low-key brand that is on my radar right now, Joseph Duclos. And upon doing some research, it looks like a similar situation to what's happening at Hermes. You do have some parts of certain bags that are hand stitched with the saddle stitch or the box stitch, and some parts which are machine stitched. Again, this is something that you're now armed with a piece of information, something that I'm definitely going to consider when I'm investing a lot in a bag. I want to know how it's constructed down to the detail of the stitching. Secret number 4 is understanding the history of the brand you are buying from. Now, this was a super top tip from a subscriber. A subscriber said to me, if you're looking for true quality, find the houses that started out as leather goods companies, not the brands necessarily that have done like the ready to wear. They're more a fashion house and then they've added leather goods on, like designer bags and shoes, as a bolt on. And it's pretty safe to say that the companies that started out as leather goods companies have had way more focus on things like the tanneries they're sourcing their leathers from, the quality of the leathers, the hides, finding the correct craftspeople that have a super high skill level to produce the pieces that they want. Now, some of the oldest companies that started out with leather goods, we have Delvaux, we have Joseph Duclos, we have Hermes, but they don't always have to be super high end and super expensive because, again, brands like Ateliers Auguste are super focused on the quality of their leather pieces. They aren't doing ready to wear, they aren't a fashion house, they are just about sourcing the highest quality and are laser focused on their leather pieces. And secret number 5 is aftercare. So the first part of this is understanding the wear and tear of the item. So a lot of styles of designer bags may have been on the market for many, many years. So the first thing that I want you to do is go to a pre-love website like Vestiaire Collective, eBay, for example, search that style of bag and look at ones that have been around for as long as possible and see how those items have worn. Does the hardware look super scratched? Are they wearing a lot in the corners of the bag? What has happened to that bag in that time? Or does it still look immaculate? And try and do as much research here as you can. This is something that I like to do because if a bag often gets wear and tear in a certain area, like the corners, for example, I will absolutely make sure that I take a bag hook out with me so I'm not putting the bag down all the time. If the lining of the bag often looks really grimy and dirty, I will make sure I have liners for that piece. And it just helps me to decide whether I want to invest in that and potentially make me aware of some quality issues that I want to know before purchasing. The second part is the aftercare of the brand. So big brands like Hermes, they have the Hermes Spa. Chanel have the Chanel Et Moi program, which is basically you get a guarantee on your bag for 5 years. So if anything goes wrong with it, they will then repair it for you. So the higher quality pieces, I find, generally the brands have also thought about aftercare. These are the 5 things that I wish I knew at the start of my journey, but I'm super grateful that I can now share them with you. Make sure you don't go anywhere because coming up next, the 10 most wanted bags of this year. The survey results are in, and the most wanted bag is even a surprise to me because it didn't make our list last year. Enjoy.